Greetings, hello, and welcome back to Long War of the Chosen, the army of Forkamain. So, today, we're gonna just mostly talk here a little bit. So, no mission today, it's my usual campaign review, class review, whatever else you want to call it, episode. So, sit back and relax. It always feels weird to record this before the campaign is actually over, so I haven't played Waterworld yet. But I'm kind of assuming we're gonna win that. So all good. Now I don't want to do a full class review of every single class, every single spec, what we've done in the past, because I feel like there's not too many changes since my class guides and also since the release Steam release campaign for Long War of the Chosen. There's not really too much different, and I've gone mostly with trusted specs on my soldiers. So nothing out of the ordinary. There's a few things I want to pick up on. First thing, well, before we look into the classes, 2 of my soldiers in the whole barracks, no, 3 soldiers have over 100 kills. Think about that information and try to see who would the 3 people be. Which classes do you think are the ones that are the kill leaders here? Anyway, when I'm talking about classes, one takeaway I have from this campaign is not weapon upgrades, soldier abilities, run and gun on sharpshooters. I always knew that was, quite useful and being able to move, but I feel like this showed more to me how strong it really is. And as much as I like to see something like lethal or so in that spot here to pick up, like this is going to be my new. I'm getting excited when I see that on a sharpshooter. It's just so flexible, so powerful to be able to, with double tap, then basically take 3 shots in a turn, or just being able to reposition. It's just so good. It's just so good. I also feel like this whole option that I gave myself in this campaign, being able to respec the abilities, I don't think I abused it as much as you could abuse it. And even with the limit I had in place of I can select one soldier, one skill per soldier, and each skill can only be selected once. I cannot give everybody a Shadow Strike or something like that. We're not even gone that far. We've not even used it on every soldier. I could have probably done more with it, but I was always a little bit on the fence of, is this too much for this campaign? So there's that. Then sharpshooters, I mean, it's like the standard death from above that we've done on everybody, so nothing fancy to say about these. When it comes to assaults, I've really enjoyed playing around with the close encounters even more. Like I've always kind of favored it a little bit over rapid fire, but it's gotten to a point where I was often, I almost want to say disappointed when I had an assault on a mission. I realized, oh, it's a rapid fire assault, not a close encounters assault. I know technically it makes no sense. Like if you're going for killer instinct, you want to be able to dish out a lot of damage on the run and gun turn. But again and again, you press, you run and gun, you kill, move up to an enemy, you press rapid fire, and the first shot kills the enemy anyway. So this feels so wasted most of the time and easily replaced with this. But I don't know. Maybe I'm preaching to the wrong people here. But I'm really in the close encounters category. Over here, we've got some value out of trench gun on both people, but I also think close and personal and guaranteeing those crits is a good choice. I think this is something where I'm still going to be flip-flopping for each individual soldier. So these are the little things. Then let's have a quick look at this. 1 second. Sorry, bit of a cough. Anyway, Tank Templar. I've never been a fan of tanking in XCOM. I didn't like the idea of Tank Templar. When we're playing with Mod Jam, I didn't really enjoy playing the hoplites. Even back in the original Long War 1, where assault biotanks were a thing, it's not really a thing I ever played or built out to use. In Long War 2, you had hunker tanking with high dodge, but that is not something I ever really utilized. So the whole idea of being able to tank always seemed to me unreliable, and that's basically also my takeaway from this campaign. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Crusader Rage is a fantastic perk. Like, impact compensation is on paper, like, you have so much damage that you're preventing, and you're getting focus in the process. Like, what's not to like? Well, the fact that the enemy might just shoot at somebody else. If the mission is going right, and by going right, it's like the typical guerrilla ops, 7 to 9 enemies, and you're just killing everything as you activate them, then these 3 perks will do absolutely nothing for you, right? It's dead pigs. Like, they're not gonna do anything for you. And even if things go slightly wrong, Crusader's Rage is still probably not going to be doing anything for you, because you really need to take a lot of damage, a lot of actual damage, for this to do anything. Once it does anything and you take damage, yeah, those wound recovery reduced by 8 is insane. It's really good, and the damage boost, I don't think we've experienced that in the whole campaign at any point, but on paper that looks really good. But that it's really just this on paper. Like, I can make up scenarios in my mind where the Tank Templar shines like a beacon, but it just, for me, doesn't pass the reality check. And the reality of the mission is I'm probably taking at most one shot of the enemy, and any Templar that can one for all can tank that one shot. I don't need a tank spec Templar. And I'm also still kind of waiting to see anyone actually utilizing that tank ability to any effect, where I'm looking at it and saying, oh, you know what, this is really strong. Like, so far there was when I'm browsing the Discord for Long War of the Chosen, I remember one Tank Templar example being linked of a video where somebody is taken on a mission with just a Tank Templar in the spark, you know, 2-manning a mission, which already makes no sense, because you don't get an infiltration bonus going in just with 2 people. Like, if you add a 3rd person, you will not get any additional infiltration time. So 2-manning makes nothing really easier. But also that example being spearheaded then, and it's basically where things then go wrong, the VIP dies and the player reloads the turn, or reloads the save from a few turns ago, and I'm like, okay, if I'm safe scumming, sure, then I can make every class look fantastic, but that doesn't really, to me, then prove the point in any way. So now, that all being said, the Templar is getting a major rework with the upcoming patch. And pretty much all I said just now is already completely useless, because we'll have to see how the new Templar plays. And that's probably something we're definitely gonna explore in the next campaign. So I'm still a big fan of unique stuff that nobody else can do. That's why I really liked Invert always on my Templars. It's a shame that you can no longer do it against the Chosen, and screw whoever made that decision, but yeah, I'm looking forward to playing a Templar with Invert again. Right, that's the Templar. Then one last thing. So let's talk a little bit about officers. So I think in my guides, like the main officer class, I've always said, okay, Holo-targeting sharpshooter, we just didn't do this in this run because of the small squads. It doesn't really make sense, right? You can't afford to have somebody not participating and just holo-targeting. Support grenadier was always one of my primary choices for officers, but offensive grenadiers, first soldier with over 100 kills, are just so strong in the current version, and especially with needle grenades, that on your first promotion getting a flat +1 damage bonus to all armored enemies, which is going to be most enemies at the start of the game, is just so good. It's just consistently performing well, even into the late game, where a lot of people always say, oh, grenades fall off in the late game. Doesn't matter. Like, if I can hit a bunch of enemies for like 12 damage a pop, that just then asks for a shinobi to come in and clean up with Reaper. So I like my grenadiers the way they are, so that, which also means I'm not really building grenade officers anymore. So that leaves us with specialists and actually shinobis. I think I've had a bunch of shinobi officers in this campaign, and I have to kind of look at myself and say maybe my rejection of shinobi officers in the past was a little bit wrong, because I always said when you're in stealth, you probably don't need the officer abilities, and when shit goes down, you want that shinobi to go in there with Reaper and slashing enemies and killing stuff, and not sitting around and commanding the rest of your squad. But we've kind of made it work so far, that we're actually using the officer abilities while still in stealth, and then also help out enough that you can go in and Reaper stuff and don't need the command on the big turns when things go down. So I think it's working. It was working reasonably fine. So I think I'm going to be using more shinobi officers again going forward. And then we also had our specialist officer, if I can find her, which I think also worked reasonably well. I mean, we are max officer rank, up to combined arms, and of course master sergeant. So of course, and that in a campaign where we were only able to bring 4 people to a mission, that means she carried her weight. And when we look then at the abilities, you see combat protocol over revival protocol. If you were to go, coming back again to the Long War of the Chosen Discord, usually a great place for discussion and advice, if you just hint at mentioning that you might use combat protocol on a specialist, you will probably have a bunch of people that haven't used combat protocol in the last 3 years laugh at you. What a terrible ability that is. Is it a great ability? Certainly not. I think combat protocol could use a few buffs, but similarly to what I said with the Templar, revival protocol is if things go wrong, I have a button here to press. And this button is kind of redundant if you're using bonds properly. And let me just pay attention to this little row with the bond icons. Like, everybody is level 3 bonded here on the first page. Level 2 bond ability is what is it called again? Well, it's something where you move next to your bond mate and you clear them of any mental ailments. So it's basically doing the same thing that revival protocol is doing, just by walking next to them passively. without having limited charges, and, well, technically uses an action, use your movement action. But that's why I think Revival is kind of fallen off. There's also the whole thing of unconscious enemies. You can just move next to them, and we have the get up action. Back in LWotC, Revival was the only way to clear unconscious. There was no other ability in the whole game to clear the unconscious state. So if you ever got somebody unconscious from a lucky berserker or unlucky berserker hit rather, and you didn't have Revival, well, you just lost 2 soldiers, one who's unconscious and one who needs to carry that guy. So we had this. It's nice guaranteed drone kills when your Trojan, when your hacking is on cooldown for Trojan. It's respectable damage to max. Took down early game turrets guaranteed. We were a little bit unlucky that we didn't get Mark III gremlins until the final mission. But despite that, I was kind of happy to have it. We also cleared out a few non-robotics enemies. You know, the typical, enemy trooper survives with 1 health. Yeah, let's just finish him off. Combat protocol. That being said, I'm still fairly of the opinion that combat protocol needs a buff. It's barely good enough right now. I think it could just need maybe a slight increase of damage and additional charges with higher gremlin tag. It starts with 2 charges. If you get a tier 2 gremlin, you get 3 charges. Tier 3 gremlin, 4 charges, done. And maybe to increase the base damage by 1. Suddenly you have a really good ability there. Anyway, I didn't miss full override. So we took threat assessment over full override. I think we didn't get too much value out of threat assessment, at least not on Rattler. We did get it, I think, fairly good value out of it on our Overwatch specialist. But also, I don't think we had too many missions since we had threat assessment. But yeah, overall, not too unhappy with the specialist officer. And then that brings us pretty much, maybe, yeah, quick look at the Reaper. Death Dealer versus Banish. I like Death Dealer because, hey, big numbers on a crit, but I think even without the Chosen, Banish might have been the better option. The more reliable option. If you want something really dead. I don't know. I think it might also be a thing that we didn't have too many missions after having Master Sergeant and Soul Harvest and everything in place here. Yeah, mission and kill count is kind of low. So, not really sure what the right answer is there. Alright, now the solution to the who has more than 100 kills. We saw already our Grenadier with 105, I think it was. Then second place, 105 kills on our Gunner. And top kill count for this campaign, Sharpshooter with 127 kills. In a campaign where we bring 4 soldiers to missions only, and we only had a few HQ assaults, not too many. So a lot of this was from guerrilla operations, you know, those missions where some people say, oh, don't bring sharpshooters, only bring sharpshooters to untimed mission. But yeah, I've ranted about this before. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the campaign itself. I can't look at the world map because of where this game is right now. So I guess we can look here. So the one thing I remember from the start of this campaign is that a lot of people told me, after we had only 2 connections from our starting region and our starting roster wasn't that fantastic, and we had a lot of injuries, I think, in the first few missions, that some people really said, oh, I would have just re-rolled at that point. because that's like, if your starting region only has 2 connections, first of all, that's not intended. You should at least always have 3 connections, but they were not able to guarantee it 100%, but 90% of the time you should have 3 or 4 connections from your starting region, because otherwise it's really, really hard. But we powered through it, and it worked, and this campaign was surprisingly, I don't know, I felt ahead of the curve the whole time, both in research, because we got an insane amount of early scientists, and we're sitting here at the end of the campaign with 12 scientists in a fully staffed lab. And we've been doing site research for months now, so we've completed the whole tech tree really early. Which also boils down to doing a lot of missions, I feel. Because we had smaller squads, faster infiltration times, which means new missions spawn as you finish up of the old mission. So instead of doing, let's say, 6 missions in a month, we did 8 missions in a month. And that really adds up. Like, our barracks was really highly leveled very early. I don't think I had a Master Sergeant this early as I had in this campaign. It was probably the fastest Master Sergeant I ever had. Does that mean in the future I'm going to be running 4-man squads in all my future campaigns? Probably not. But I'm probably going to run them more than I used to. I'm kind of thinking that in future campaigns I might just select a kind of power level squad, probably with whatever the hero class from Gatecrasher is. 3 other people, select them, keep them together, and just do 4-mans with these guys. To have like a core of high-ranked soldiers that can then spread out a little bit and power level others. Maybe have one of them also be an officer candidate, trial by fire and all of that. Possibly not. But yeah, definitely something to look into. What else? What else is there to say? Chosen. We didn't have any Chosen. Did that make the campaign feel easier? Did it make it feel harder? I don't know. So of course the Chosen stronghold is basically the main reason why I didn't want to have Chosen in this campaign, because the main idea of the campaign was bring fewer soldiers to each mission. I think the stronghold missions are so tightly balanced at the moment that you can't do them with less than 5 people. So since that would have been against the base idea of the campaign, I said, okay, let's go Chosen in holidays, not have Chosen in the campaign. We had a lot more enemies on the retaliations, but I still felt the retaliations were fairly easy. But that might be just less of a matter of lack of Chosen and more a matter of we were out-leveling and out-attacking the AI, and that's why they felt easy. So jury is still out. I think I don't think disabling the Chosen makes the game easier. There's of course the whole thing with covert actions and the constant fear of ambushes. If you have the Chosen in the campaign, you remove the Chosen. You have at some point covert actions are just free stuff, win more mechanics. Send your soldiers out, you get free stuff back, no ambush risk. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to killing the Chosen again in the next campaign. Talking about the next campaign then. So if I was prepared, I would have shown now like a screenshot of the Long War of the Chosen 1.1 beta update. So we're gonna go into the new beta version, which eventually will make it to the main branch. I already mentioned there's a huge Templar rework, there are some Chosen reworks, there's some other minor class changes. I'll make a separate video before we launch the new campaign, where we take a look at the patch notes and go through all the details on what is changing, and also my initial thoughts on that. Keeping in mind, I haven't played with the beta version yet, So this is all just based on paper evidence, and we'll see then during the next campaign how it changes. So next campaign is going to be focusing on the new update, looking at all the changes that are there, playing around with the reworked Templar. And in addition to that, because I do like my gimmicks, next campaign is going to have a restriction on my classes. As in, everybody is going to be unique. If we have 3 sharpshooters, they're going to have different specs. 1 death from above, 1 holo targeting, 1, dare I say it, snapshot. If we get a 4th, I don't know how I'm going to solve it yet, but it's probably going to be then also death from above, but slightly different. But in general, the idea is to not have 2 soldiers with identical skill trees. That also might mean that I try to take the other officer skills that I don't usually take, but don't quote me on that. It might not extend that far. We also have to see when it comes to psionic classes, since the choices there are kind of limited and a little bit randomized, so I can't guarantee that they won't have similar abilities, but for all the base classes, I'll try to have no 2 soldiers be identical and have them basically fundamentally a different playstyle. It's not just about having 1 perk that is different, but rather everybody being unique. We'll see how that shakes out. Alright, that's the sneak peek for the next campaign. As I said, we're gonna look at the Long War patch notes in an upcoming campaign. I'm gonna go and record Waterworld then, so that you get that hopefully tomorrow. And yeah, and sometime next week we'll have that patch review video, and then New Gatecrasher excitement continues to build. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.